Welcome everyone to episode 2 of ArchestrA Graphics Tips and Tricks. My name is John Krajewski and I am a member of the product management team here at Inventus Wonderware. Today we're going to break down the anatomy of an ArchestrA graphic. What are the key components that are used to assemble an ArchestrA graphic? So I'm going to launch right into this with our first component, which are the graphic elements. Those are all the things on the canvas, so that when you drop elements on the canvas, those are all the things that you will see there. So in the toolbox over here, these are all the different types of components you can drop onto the canvas. When you drop it on the canvas, they appear here in the elements pane. So for example, if I click on the graphic elements text here, you'll see that that is text 1. So individual pieces of text, whether there be lines, rectangles, rounded rectangles, buttons, they all appear in the elements panel. Embedded symbols also appear in the elements panel. So you can see here my cow is a fully embedded symbol. So it just appears as one embedded element, even though it's made up and consists of a large number of elements, but it's being managed external to this symbol. I can then take multiple elements and group them together. So you can see that I've got two pieces of text here, text 4 and 5, which I'm using to create the kind of visual appearance of this ArchestrA Graphics anatomy text up here, and I've grouped them together. You can see that I can select the text individually inside of that group without having to break the group, so that if I wanted to access the animations of those of that text, I can do that. And you can see as you navigate down a group, so if I look up here at my title bar, so I'm just going to click on the title bar. If I click again, it'll actually start clicking and selecting inside of the title bar. So this group 3, which is this cog or gear up there, you can see it actually has an animation on it. So when I double click on group 3, you can see that what this is doing is it's setting an internal custom property called config expand contract. So it's allowing me to expand or contract a configuration panel, and that's the point of this. It's a behavior that I've set up in this symbol. We'll walk you through that as we go through this. So next, I'm going to jump into the next topic here, which are not the graphic elements, but are now the custom properties. That's the namespace. So all of these variables that you see that are moving around in this example are all custom properties. And I'm showing them here on the left. The booleans, floats, triangles, strings, they're all been configured as custom properties. There are more, and I will go into the configuration environment here, show you how to access them. So I'm going to right click on the canvas, go to custom properties. Here are all the custom properties of this particular symbol. Each custom property has a data type: boolean, double, elapsed time, float, integer, string, or time. You can set the default value. You can determine whether or not it's visible. So in this example, if I take this config expand contract, this is an internal variable that I want to use, and it doesn't need to be configured by someone else. So I can set that to be private. And that way, if someone were to embed this symbol again, they would not see that. And it's just an internal variable for use in the behavior of the symbol. There's a description. Descriptions are key in being able to help someone who's using this symbol understand what they're supposed to do. So if I go to the symbol library and select one of the gauges and embed that, and then I access the custom properties for that gauge, I can go down here if I select the value, and it tells me that this is the value of the meter. So that the reference I'm putting in here is going to be for the value of the meter. This might have been a pretty simple one, and maybe that description was not necessary, but certainly you can see you have a lot of space, and you can put a more elaborate description to explain someone how to configure those. Because it's expected that the people using these symbols aren't always the people that built them, and you want to provide them guidance on how to use it. So the next core component of the graphic anatomy are the behaviors, the client scripts, the scripts that run in the background that allow you to have custom behaviors happening. So in my example here, the reason these floats are tracking the set points, the reason these triangles are moving up and down, the reason that these things are doing what they're doing is because I've scripted that behavior. I've set that up and I customized it. So if I go back over to my test harness configuration and I go to my scripts, I can see that the scripts here are predefined scripts. Those are the things that happen when it shows, while it's showing, when it hides. I can have named scripts. The named scripts are the scripts that allow you to kind of have custom events. So if there are conditions, so I can set up an expression here, which can evaluate to a Boolean, and then when that Boolean expression evaluates when it's true, when it's false, on true, on false, then those things can trigger that script to occur. or I could set it up as a data change. Anytime data changes, fire this script. So in this particular example, I'm showing here that says if the config expand contract, which is a Boolean, and the config height is less than the panel line height, so I have a panel line here, then to go ahead and keep incrementing the height. So what I've done there is, if I come back over here to runtime, if I click this, I want it to expand out. What I've done there is that the script is what's actually controlling its height. So what I've done here is that when I click the button, it sets this Boolean, and as long as the height is less than this panel line, which is this line right here, it continues to increase it until it reaches its limit. This is an example of how you can use scripts to pretty much do everything you want. On the client-side scripts here, you want to keep them focused on things that are client behaviors, something that will be different on each workstation. So the choices that a user is making on that workstation, if they're custom to that workstation, then it probably makes sense to use it on a client script. If it's something which is a general calculation, you probably want to do that elsewhere. The client isn't necessarily the best place to do general calculations that every user should see, but these are things that would be custom to that user. So a good example here of what I've done is that I have that panel that slides up and down. That's going to be different on every node, so I'm handling it here in a client script. That's just a brief introduction of the anatomy of ArchestrA graphics, and so going back over them again, there are the graphic elements, custom properties, and the client scripts. When you take a look at this, you realize that the ArchestrA graphic is really a self-encapsulated application. It allows you to create a very visually rich, with intelligent behavior, and the end goal here is to allow somebody else, once you've built this, to then be able to create easy, fast assembly of applications. That could be yourself, or that could be other people in your team or in your organization that need to achieve an end result. I look forward to seeing you next time, and we'll start breaking down these things in more detail. Thank you.